Welcome back to Waves by Factory Berlin and Beats by Dr. Dre. I'm Jill Beytin.
I'm Julia Joubert.
And this is the last installment in this series, and we're going to be talking about gear.
Podcasting gear, to be specific.
Podcasting gear. This is my baby. I love podcasting gear. This is what I've spent my life perfecting my knowledge on podcasting gear. So there are a few things that you need to consider when you're thinking about what you want to buy. The first thing is, where will you be recording your podcast? Will you be recording it in a home studio? Will you be recording it outside? Are you going to be recording live events?
I do just want to interject here and say we are filming this during a COVID-19 times, or hopefully coming off the back of it. So we're very much aware of the need for home studio spaces and recording from home, and that you're not always going to be able to get outside and do all those recordings outside. But what we kind of want to try help you with here is find equipment and spaces that work for both.
Yeah. And you also want to think about how many speakers or interviewees you'll usually be having on your show. Is it just a solo cast with you? Will you be speaking with one person, two people, six people? This is really what kind of equipment you buy depends on this a lot.
And then obviously with that is, what is your budget? And we're going to be the first to say, and we'll reiterate this often, is that obviously we don't want you to break the bank when you're looking at equipment and looking to set up a home studio, but at the same time, there is genuinely no point in you making a podcast if it sounds bad. Like, it doesn't matter how good your content is, how great your guest is. If it sounds like they're talking to you from a toilet, it's no one's going to want to listen to it in the first place. So they're definite hard no's when it comes to some of this stuff. In terms of your budget though, be flexible, but if you can go for something a little bit more like mid-range, we'd always encourage that.
Yeah. Don't record on your phone. People have asked us.
People have come to us with stories of it working. And we're like, oh, really? And then you go and listen to it.
And it didn't really.
It didn't really. The toilet.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, there's a lot of ways to record, but not all are created equal. So the main things that you're going to need for a typical podcasting setup, this is if you're in a studio, if you're at home, the things you're going to need are a recorder or a mixer. Something like this. We'll get a lot more into that in a minute. You're going to need microphones because you can't just speak out into the ether and expect the recorder to pick it up.
Imagine, that'd be great. We're heading there.
Bellowing.
I'm sure we're heading there at some point.
You're going to want microphone stands because you don't want to be holding a microphone for an hour. We'll reiterate that later on. A lot of people think it's fine to just hold a microphone for an hour. You don't want to do that. You will need pop filters, especially if you say a lot of those hard P's and S's. And if you're outside, you might need a wind guard, for example. You're also going to want to have XLR cables that will connect the mixer to the microphones. We'll also get more into that later. And then lastly, you're going to want a nice pair of headphones that you can listen to both while you're recording and while you're editing.
Click.
The first way to record is by using a mixer. And if you've ever been to a live show or a concert, they use mixers to take the audio that's coming from the singer or the speaker and blast it out using speakers to the audience. And mixers can also just save that recording, or they can save it onto your computer. And it doesn't always have to be a live event. You can have a mixer in your house. This is how most people record their podcasts. Essentially, a mixer transfers audio from a microphone, and you can change the levels and the gain on here, and then it translates that into a digital file that you can then put on your computer or an SD card. We really like the Rodecaster Pro. It's a mixer, but it also has a bunch of extra features, like you can stream a phone jack into it.
That is over here. So there's an aux cable that goes in at the back.
Yeah, so essentially, you're going to have microphones, and they're going to be connected to these, which are XLR cables. And then you can also have headphones here so that your speakers can listen. This is how you turn it on. This is the USB cord that can stream into your computer, which is super nice. We use it all the time. And this is a micro SD card slot so that you can save these recordings. It also comes with a really cool soundboard that you can load different sounds onto if you have, even commercials or sound effects that you use during your program.
Jill's favorite is the shade button.
Yeah, the shade button, the famous shade button. There's of course the record button. And you can go into settings and change the different microphones depending on what channel you're on. And then you can also change the volume, but not the gain here. And just a thing about gain and levels, we'll get more into that when we talk about the Zoom, but you can adjust how strong the signal is from your microphone feeding into your mixer. So you really don't want it up so high that it's just blasting out your mixer and making you deaf. You don't want it so low that you can't hear the people talking. You want it in a nice midpoint.
I will say one of the things that we love the most about this, and just coming back to a lot of home recordings, all of our interviews have had to be with telephones, and it's been incredible to literally just have an aux cable go into this, feed directly into the phone. And also we've had it that you can actually connect the phone through Bluetooth to this mixer as well. So you can have 2 phone calls on 2 different phones, all feeding through this, and then that goes directly to your audio workspace as well, which is just...
Nice.
She's precious. She's a beauty.
Yeah. And you also have 4 aux jacks, which is really nice. You can have 4 people talking at once on your podcast. This costs about 500 euros. A mixer can cost anywhere from 50 to 10,000 euros. It really depends on what you need. And a mixer is really nice for if you're going to be doing home recordings and you just want something simple that you can control the different levels of your interviewees and have everything at home. The next way that we love to record is with a Zoom recorder. This baby is our most used tool for the entire Bear Radio podcast network.
It's also what most audio journalists start with. So back in 2011, when I was studying media and radio production, these are the babies that we used. These products are so incredible that they have not changed in like the last 10 years. The only difference was that it went from being a black gray to a matte black. That is the only thing that they have changed here. So what you've got here really, before Jill gets into it, is a quality product.
Yeah, and what's really nice about this, so it functions essentially as a mixer, but the really cool part is that you can also take it outside. You see, obviously it's a lot smaller than the Rodecaster. So like you could just plug a microphone directly into the Rodecaster, you can plug microphones directly into a Zoom.
So here we've got the end of the XLR, here we've got the end, well, the point, in we go.
And then instead of the slide level adjustments that you use on a mixer, you have these little ones here that you use on the front of the Zoom. And yeah, I really like it. It's a great all-around piece of equipment. They cost around 300 or 350 euros. There are a few other brands like Tascam that also work quite well.
What I really enjoy about this is that, one, obviously you've got your 4 points for your microphones, but you also have a head mic. And this is a really great thing to have when you are doing field recordings and that kind of stuff, because it picks up a whole lot more. The mics that you plug in here are a little bit more directional. But what's also great for it, as a first-time podcaster or a newbie in this world, is having this as your backup. Having this recorded, because they each all record onto their own tracks, their own files on your SD card that you put in. So if you have this as a backup, if something goes wrong with a microphone, if one of the people isn't speaking clearly enough, this is a really great thing to have. Just remember that when you are listening back, take this audio track out, delete it if everything sounds perfect.
Yeah.
Because this baby picks up a lot. So all the white noise, all the static, all the room tone, that's what this head mic is for. But the Zooms do actually come with, or do they not anymore?
These ones only come with one. The older versions come with 2 different head mics. One is better for interviews, one's better for room tone. And the old ones actually come with a cord that goes into the USB port of your computer, and you can stream directly into your computer as well.
Yeah, and it's a simple thing of putting whichever microphone is on. Well, that now I just put it off, put it on. You hit record, then records into an SD card that is located over here. You take it out, pop it into your computer, and you're ready to edit.
Amazing. We love Zoom. We love all audio equally. The next thing is an interface, and this is a much more simple setup. The interface simply streams audio from your microphone directly into your computer. You can adjust the gain and levels here. There's the XLR jack. This one only has one. You can buy these with a bunch of different jacks. And what they're really nice for is home recording, solo recording. This one here is the Focusrite Scarlett. These are really nice to use. They don't need a driver. They range anywhere from starting at around 150 euros and go up the more auxiliary cable, or the more jacks you have. And you can get an interface anywhere from 50 euros to, again, like hundreds and hundreds of euros. It all depends on your budget.
Yep.
The last piece of equipment is a USB microphone, which when I say that all ways to record are not created equal, this is mostly what I'm talking about. There are amazing USB microphones out there that, people record audiobooks on, people do voiceovers with, but a lot of the time they're marketed towards entry-level podcasters and they don't have the same quality that you might get from using an interface and a microphone. So make sure that you do the research on the USB microphone that you buy. They're really good for solo casts or, smaller podcast setups with 1 or 2 people. They also range anywhere from like 80 to thousands of euros as usual. I think they're a nice entry level if you don't really want to be doing anything but voice on your podcast.
The great thing, obviously, I think it's in the name, but just to explain, a USB mic literally connects through a USB cable directly into your computer and then into your audio space that you've chosen to work with. The thing here is, like Jill said, there are ones that are really marketed and like the honed in on podcasters and you're being told these are the ones you want, but there are better options out there. I think one of our favorites is the Shure USB mic. They're also great because we've been doing podcasts during Corona and just shipping off these mini microphones to whoever we're doing our interviews with, which when you have the budget for all of that equipment, it's a great help. But I think to start, don't try and buy a microphone for everybody you speak to. But if it's you and your co-host, say I'm in South Africa, Jill is in Berlin, we're on a budget. It's a great thing to invest in that's cheap but also really good quality that you can kind of just both plug, play, go from wherever in the world.
And the next thing you need to consider going off of USB microphones are microphones in general. So as we keep reiterating, there's a wider range of microphones based on your budget, but the main thing you need to consider is where you'll be recording. First off, these here are Procaster dynamic large diaphragm microphones. We really like them. The sound's really nice and rich. I think they're 150 euros, I believe, each. They're really nice. But you can get a dynamic microphone for 15 euros, and we've used those to teach students as well. A dynamic microphone is a really simple setup. It essentially works as the opposite of a loudspeaker. Those old-timey gramophone, that's what I mean. So instead of projecting sound outwards, it takes sound in and then converts that to a digital format. Dynamic microphones are really durable. They could deal with a lot of abuse. They could deal with loud sounds.
We've dropped them a few times.
Definitely. Concert recordings. Yeah, they're your really good, all-around microphones. We really like this brand. A lot of the Rode dynamic microphones work really well with the Rodecaster, so pro tip.
Behringer's also a really good dynamic mic that if you wanted to look for something that's a little bit more in your price range if you're just getting started. Because yes, you are going to be investing in not just your mixer of whatever sort you'd like, but also in XLR cables and mic stands and pop filters. It does add up, but it's worth it. Again, just quality of audio over everything, please.
And the other kind of microphone is a condenser microphone. Condenser microphones are used in studio recordings, and they work best when you have a really controlled environment and they need a power source. They work by using an electrified magnet to convert audio into a digital format. So you need to have power. You usually need a mixer. You can also do it with a Zoom as well. So that's just something to keep in mind. These usually are a bit more expensive, but they're definitely worth the investment if you've got it.
They're worth the investment, but only worth the investment if you also invest in the space around you. If you have a beautiful condenser mic, but a horrible recording space, it's going to be more of a pain than a help. We've worked with clients before who have gone all out on their equipment, but then have like a room with 3 pieces of padding in it and trying to call
air
a studio,
conditioning.
and then calling us to try and fix audio afterwards. All of this, all the money that you're putting in now is to make sure that your editing process is as smooth and easy and simple as possible. Because if you're spending 7 hours just trying to get rid of white noise or air conditioning or people
The
screaming
refrigerator
downstairs,
sound.
don't bother with these condenser mics, because they will pick up on everything. They're beautiful for that, but only if you have the right space.
Definitely. And of course, don't forget your pop filter, like we said earlier.
Maybe just to clarify, for those who don't know what a pop filter is, that you know that little spongy thing that goes on top of a microphone? That's a pop filter.
And you can get different kinds. You can get really fancy ones that have an entire wall behind them, and then they have a wind guard in front of you.
Can I actually bring that into shot?
This is the Mac Daddy of pop filters. There she is. It's a look unhinged.
Me and my date. So this is my date. This is also, like somebody else just said, the Mac Daddy of pop filters and little recording space.
So these are great because it has a windscreen here to work with those P's and S's, but then you also have an echo barrier here, so that even if you're working in a space that isn't perfect, this is going to do a lot to deaden any echo. You can go away with that now.
Oh, I'm gonna miss him.
Next thing you'll want is mic stands. As I said earlier, you don't want to hold a microphone for an hour, especially if it's a hot day like this and your hands get sweaty. You can hear the sound of your hands moving on a microphone. You don't need that.
You can hear the hands moving, you can hear the cable moving as well. Again, microphone stands, you can buy them for super cheap online, like $5-10. But if you can't get your hands on one, or if you've forgotten them, just a nifty trick is actually if you take the XLR cable, so imagine there's a microphone attached to this end, and you just wrap it around once, just holding it like that. It avoids any sort of movement or wobbling of the cable itself. So just a nifty trick, but ideally, like Jill said, what you'll want is a mic stand.
And there are a bunch of different kinds. You can get a mic stand that goes to the floor, like these ones. You can get a mic stand that sits on your table, one that attaches to your table and has one of those cool arms that you can use. What's nice about those is that you can position the microphone above your head so that you're automatically open-chested, sitting straight up, and that's how your voice sounds the best.
Yeah. With those mic stands, just a thing with the table mic, and also to come back to why you need to be careful of what some of the USB mics that you buy, because some of those USB mics, you just put them down on a table, and then you're speaking down and you're leaning down.
You're hunched.
And you're forgetting about the fact that you're completely closing yourself up. You're already restricting the lung capacity that you have, and then scrunching up here, and it's going to sound terrible. So if you have one of those, make sure put them up on a couple of books maybe to get yourself a bit higher, or like Jill said, if you have a table stand, crank that thing up to as high as it can go and just speak up so you open yourself up and get nice and clear.
Definitely. And the last thing that you'll need is a pair of really good headphones. These are Beats by Dr. Dre Studio Pro headphones. They're really nice. We've been wearing them. They feel fantastic. It's like a weighted blanket for your ears.
That was my line. You stole my line.
Sorry, it was really good.
They're so good.
They're great. The thing that you really need to consider is that they cover your ears so that you're not getting any of that outside ambient noise. You're cut off from the world and all you're hearing is that audio that you're recording or that you're editing.
Don't think that this is not worth an investment, and also don't think that Bluetooth headphones are the same. They're not. It really messes with the quality. Often it can be quite shaky in terms of the connection, so always go for over-ear. There are some really budget ones available as well. The in-ear doesn't have the same amount of quality, and I think the thing that you need to avoid the most is, especially when you're editing, to edit from your laptop. The noise that comes out of your laptop speakers or a PC speaker or whatever is nothing compared to what it actually sounds like. So above all else, avoid doing that. Rather have in-ear earphones than be working from your laptop.
Yeah, and Julia and I both have headphones that we bought in 2007 is when I bought mine, and I still use them.
2010, and I still use them.
So yeah, it's really worth the investment.
Yeah.
And next we're going to go into perfecting your home studio. Like Julia said at the beginning of this, we are in COVID times, so a lot of people are recording from home now, but I think that I love podcasting from home.
So I, too, really enjoy podcasting from home. It does get a bit strange, I guess, if you're inviting guests into your space, so that's something to keep in mind. Maybe if you've created your studio in your bedroom, make sure you've made your bed when you invite people in. But it's very, very doable. And if you just look at like audio journalists or reporters who've traveled the world staying in hotels, they're recording from everywhere and anywhere. They do what they can to make it work. So there's a couple things that we'd recommend that you first avoid, which is any big spaces.
Yeah.
So avoid the kitchen, avoid anything too big and cavernous. Don't be recording in the hallway. It's got hard surfaces, it's got big spaces, it's incredibly echoey. Hard surfaces equals echoey sound. So you need to have something soft, which is why the bedroom is great.
Yeah.
Your clothing, your closet is great. If you have a box big enough to climb into that.
Yeah. Julia and I sometimes record in my bedroom, and we've been doing a lot of duvet work. So the other day we were doing voiceovers and literally made a blanket fort around Julia, and it actually sounds pretty good.
We can send you the photo if you want.
And you can get a lot of this material online. Like you can even buy cheap duvets, you can buy a mattress topper, you can buy paneling. So don't just speak out into your giant alt bow apartment and think it's gonna sound great. You don't want echo, you don't want feedback. And also, if you're going to be recording, make sure you tell your family, your flatmates, your screaming neighbor to just quiet it down during that hour so that you don't hear them in the background.
It's all really doable and it's at your fingertips, and the softer you make it, and I think that's just what we need to stress here, is just make it soft. You'll see a lot of people also go like soft to the extreme and they'll hide under a blanket, which is also great. But again, if you're hunched over and you're sweating, you're making the entire experience uncomfortable for yourself, and you're not going to create good audio or have a good time doing it. So make it soft, but within reason. And that said, like we've created studio quality sound with a couple of Jill's duvets and cushions. So it's really doable.
Yeah, cool. And I think that's it from our side. Thank you all for watching. This has been the last installment of Waves by Factory Berlin and Beats by Dr. Dre. I'm Jill.
I'm Julia. And if you want to find out more about kind of developing your podcasting idea, or you're trying to figure out your topic, or you're like, how am I going to plan this thing? How do I avoid burnout? There's 3 other episodes of this that you've missed, so go and check those out as well.
Yep. And if you want to contact us, go to our website at bearradio.org or send us a shout out at info@bearradio.org.
And then on social media, it's Bear Radio Berlin. We're on Instagram. Jill's all over that Twitter. We're on Facebook as well. So if you have any really cool podcasting ideas or stuff you want to tell us about, please hit us up there. Otherwise, we have a whole huge number of podcasts that were created here in Berlin for you to listen to in English language. So go and check those out as well.
Cool. Bye.
Bye-bye.